Good morning, everyone. My name is John Marasco, Director of Your New Hampshire DMV. At the New Hampshire DMV, we work for you. Thank you so much to members of the media and for everyone that's here today to kick off the Reach New Heights campaign to encourage New Hampshire residents to get their Real ID, which will be a requirement by May 7th of 2025 to have your Real ID to enter different federal facilities and to pass through TSA checkpoints like the one directly behind all of us here this morning. I want to thank Manchester-Boston Regional Airport, in particular Airport Director Ted Kitchens. Thank you so much, Ted, for having us all here this morning and for setting this up. And Homeland Security and Transportation Safety Administrator Director Kieran Flynn. Kieran, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And to my left is New Hampshire DMV Deputy Director Janet Bouchard and DMV Supervisor Kathy O'Neill. Kathy O'Neill oversees 14 DMV locations around the state, 60 counters, which translates into 400,000 in-person transactions at those counters every year. That's a great opportunity for people when they come into the DMVs around the state to get their Real ID. Kathy and her team will be educating and working with people to try to encourage them to get the Real ID. I think it's very symbolic that we're doing the press conference today on May 7th. This kicks off 365 days of what will be a media campaign to try to get more people in New Hampshire to migrate to the Real ID. They're going to be glad that they did, and they can look for the little gold star that's at the right-hand top of their current license or non-driver ID to identify if they currently have a Real ID or not. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Kieran Flynn from TSA to speak a little bit more about the process and the program. Thank you, Kieran.
Good morning. As you said, my name is Kieran Flynn. I am the Federal Security Director for the Transportation Security Administration for the state of New Hampshire. Thank you, Director Marasco. The 2005 Real ID Act is a coordinated effort by states and the federal government to inhibit terrorists' ability to evade detection using fake or fraudulent obtained driver's licenses or identification. The 19 hijackers on 9/11 had 30 separate driver licenses in their possession. When Real ID goes into effect, every air traveler 18 years of age or above will be required to have a Real ID driver's license, state enhanced driver's license, or another acceptable form of ID to fly within the United States. The most common alternative ID is a US passport or a passport. The ID pre-enforcement process will begin tomorrow, May 8, 2024, and will run through May 6, 2025. During Real ID pre-enforcement, transportation security officers will proactively provide information to passengers who do not present a Real ID compliant form of identification. These efforts are in preparation of Real ID enforcement, which will occur on May 7, 2025. Some examples of acceptable identification include a passport or a US passport card, a driver license that is Real ID compliant, a state-issued enhanced driver's license, a U.S. Department of Defense ID, including IDs issued to dependents, DHS trusted traveler cards like Global Entry, Nexus, Sentry, and FAST. And for a complete list of acceptable IDs, a person can log on to tsa.gov. At this time, I'll turn it over to the MHT Airport Director, Ted Kitchens.
So thank you, Kieran. As Kieran mentioned, I'm Ted Kitchens, the Airport Director here at Manchester-Boston Regional Airport. We appreciate what Kieran and the entire TSA and DHS community does to ensure the safety of all travelers through Manchester and throughout the airport network in the United States. And thank you, Director Marasco, for including the airport in today's press conference discussing Real ID. We highly value our partnership with the New Hampshire Department of Safety. Today I want to address the importance of obtaining your Real ID, regardless of how often you travel. It is not just about convenience, it's about being prepared for any unexpected travel situations. Imagine needing to travel urgently, only to realize that you do not have the necessary identification. That is a situation that nobody would want to find themselves in. Ensuring the safety of all travelers passing through Manchester Boston Regional Airport is our top priority as an airport staff. Every day, the dedicated staff at MHD prioritize the safety and security in everything that we do. Having your real ID makes identification verification quicker, which also helps increase our security measures and ensures a safer environment for everyone. As the family of airlines continues to grow at Manchester and as our passenger numbers continue to recover from the impact of the pandemic, getting your real ID contributes positively to the $1 billion economic impact that the airport has on the state. And even more importantly, obtaining your real ID will assist in making your travel experiences easier, less stressful, and more enjoyable. These are the things that you expect and the things that you cherish when you fly the MHT way. So we wish everybody safe travels this summer. Get your real ID, and we'll see you here at Manchester shortly. Thank you. And I think I'm turning it back over to Director Marasco. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Kieran. So how do you get your real ID? The best way to do that is to actually go to the DMV website, the New Hampshire DMV website, dmv.nh.gov. All the information is there with regards to documentation that you'll need to get your real ID, as well as booking an appointment. So we encourage you to book an appointment to come in and get your real ID. I checked this morning. To book an appointment to get your real ID here in Manchester is less than a week, and in our Concord location, it's same day. If you are going to renew from this point until May 7th of 2025, simply when it's time for you to renew your license or any other documentation, you should migrate to the real ID at that time. If you've already renewed and you're not going to be renewing during the next 365 days, you can simply make an appointment on the DMV website, come in for a simple transaction, take you usually less than 10 minutes, and for $3 you can upgrade and get the real ID with the star in the upper right hand corner, which will allow you to pass through TSA checkpoints all around the country like the one here behind us. If you are renewing in the next 365 days and you have any questions, you can certainly contact the DMV at any time, but most answers are right there on the website. 61% currently in New Hampshire have their real ID. We're an opt-in state, which means you have a choice on whether or not to get one. That's a really good number, and it's above the national average. We can do a lot better than that here in New Hampshire. And so the goal is, over the next 365 days, let's get as many people to get the real ID as possible, and let's get that number to as close as 100% as we possibly can. So I want to thank everybody for being here today, and certainly if there are any specific questions, we're happy to take them.
Yeah, I was curious, so once this 365-day campaign is over and you don't have a real ID, how tough is it to travel anywhere when it comes to going to any airport?
That's a great question, and I'm going to turn that over to Kieran.
Well, under the current plan, you will not be able to travel by air as of July 7, 2025, if you do not possess any form of real ID, which are the ones I mentioned, which is a driver's license, enhanced driver's license, a passport, or a military ID or dependent ID.
So if you have like a passport, you are technically still allowed
If you have a passport that is considered real ID compliant, yes, you can travel with that.
Gotcha. And so with this, it's a media campaign, so where are you guys really targeting specific areas when it comes to the media?
You pass it back.
Yeah. So there's a campaign that Kieran will be kicking off here tomorrow and nationally to educate travelers that are coming through the airports and giving them information that they need to get the real ID. For us in the DMV, we're going to be working closely with Director Kitchens and with Director Flynn and with all of our partners to try to do at least one social media post if we can every single day. We've already got, if you go to the New Hampshire DMV website, you'll see a banner right there, a large poster. Actually, it's the one that's right in front of the podium. Reach new heights, get your real ID, and you can click on that and start to get your information on the real ID there. But we would love to work with WMUR to periodically get more information out, and NHPR and all of our media outlets throughout the state.
And how much more expensive is it, like, if you are renewing and maybe you don't have the money to like upgrade to a real ID? I mean, I was at the DMV recently, and you still had the choice to do either one, but the real ID was, I guess, a little bit more expensive.
So the traditional license is $50. To get the real ID for the first time out of the gate would be an additional $10 for a total of $60. But if you've already got the traditional license and you just want to upgrade to the real ID, it's $3.
Oh, okay.
$3. Anybody else? Oh, sure. Yeah.
Also, through our partnership with the Department of Safety, we're going to put some of this branding throughout the airport. We're going to put some out in the sterile area, so as passengers are waiting for their flight, they're going to be reminded, hey, check that ID if you don't have it, because Karen gave you a pamphlet. That message is going to be reinforced in the gate area as well as in the bag claim area. So that passengers are being presented with this branding at multiple touch points throughout their journey.
Are you happy with 61% right now? I mean,
Yeah, I think the last time we did this, Director, you weren't the director at the time, but I think we were in the 30s, if I recall correctly. So
how long ago was
that was 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. So I'm happy where we are, but as the director said, we certainly can do more, and we should be getting 100%. I mean, that's the goal, right?
I'd just like to add too, just got to keep in mind, this is a national campaign. We're doing this across the country, and we get a lot of travelers who are coming from all over the country who are flying out of here. So you may be able to travel the day prior to this day because you don't have a real ID, but your return trip you would not be able to travel. So we're going to make sure that you think of that when you're planning your travel for next year. And also keep in mind, you might have a U.S. passport which is real ID compliant, but if that's the only document you have that is real ID compliant, if you happen to lose that document on your travels, on your return, again, you would be affected. So I encourage you to get your real ID through the DMV.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.